Welcome to the next episode of For the Sake of Heaviness. I'm Merciful Mike.
I'm Butch Ballage.
On today's episode, Butch and I have decided we're going to shed a few tears. This episode is dedicated to the top 5 bands we regret never seeing. I don't know, Butch, my top 5 bums me out just looking at it. And you've got the big lip there.
Yeah, when I was going through just thinking about stuff, I mean, I was just like, it's like anytime I couldn't even, I had to like
I
push
know.
it back in
Tuck it
because
back in.
it's tough when you think of, when we've been, when you follow music as long as we have that,
Hmm.
um, to think about the bands that I'm really into, and then there's like so much that you just miss for whatever reason, and then there's so much that you think like, man, there's so much I'll never. It's like there's so many records out there where there's so many bands I'm actually never
Yeah.
going to get a chance to see.
I know. It's
it is
crazy.
yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of sad, really. Not to bum everyone out, but
I know. But, you and I have had those discussions too about, so-called legacy bands, the ones that have been around for so long and have really left their footprint in music. They're one by one slowly stepping out, and if you never got a chance to see those, that's tough. And there's a few of them out there. So, but
yeah,
I
for
I
sure.
will I'll let you start this off. I will. Do you need a break to get tissues? Are we gonna need tissues from
I'm
you?
a, I think I have like poor man's tissues here. I get these anytime I go up to the local sheets and get a hot dog, and they put these in, and then I keep them nearby.
Well, I'm gonna bring out my inner 5-year-old and I'm just gonna do the sleeve.
You just snot on your sleeve.
All right, bud, go ahead, kick it off. What
All right,
what do you
I'll
got?
start. I'm going to start with I actually did get to see Ron James Dio late in his career. I saw him on the Killing the Dragon tour, and I saw him with twice with Heaven and Hell. So,
Nice.
but for a kid that when I was in high school, I mean, a lot of my life revolved around stuff we did was always like go to the mall, go to
Right. Right.
concerts. I mean, it was a big thing. It was like so it's weird to think about some of the stuff that I missed, and it's this many years later, 40 plus years later, I can't even remember. When I think about it, I'm like, why the hell would I have missed this show?
Right.
Um, I saw, I saw this show, I saw that show. Why would I have missed that one? I can't remember. I don't know if I was somewhere with, if I had some school event or was out at, on vacation somewhere with my
Right.
folks or what. It's just I have no excuse for missing these shows that I'm aware of. Um, the first one, it's this is first of all, this is gonna be a twofer, but I count it as one because it's
Sure.
the same artist, same tour. It's Dio,
Yep.
Sacred Heart tour. Both shows were at the Stabler Arena in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. One was September 19th, 1985, with Rough Cut opening.
Wow. Oh man.
That puts them on the list of bands I've never seen and never will get a chance to
Yeah.
see. And then June 13th to 86, again, same tour. Now the 85 was with Vivian,
Mm-hmm.
86 was with Craig Goldie,
Goldie.
and 86 Accept opened, who I did see. So that one's not quite as heartbreaking. The thing is, though, Dio is one of my favorite singers of all time, my favorite singer of all time in metal.
Right.
Um, and to not have seen him during his, when I saw him, he was still great. I mean, it
Yeah.
was Dio, but it was not seeing him in his prime still bothers me because he came to the area a few times, but this tour when he was at his peak popularity
Mm-hmm.
with the Dio bands, with that stage show with the dragon, him
Right.
slaying the dragon and that whole stage setup, and to see to be able to see that band, the backing band he had with him. I mean, I finally did get to see Vivian play with Last in Line this past, I think it was early this year. Um, and it's just so great to see, Vivian play live. But I would have loved to have seen that. I don't know why I missed the shows. It doesn't make sense to me why I did, but I just didn't get to them. And you know, it's a bummer because, like I said, I would have loved to have seen him at his peak when his voice was just like at its absolute
Yeah.
zenith. Those years from like 75, 76 up through the mid 80s, he was just like, you know,
Yeah.
chef's chef's kiss. So yeah, that bums me out. Not once but twice, which makes it hurt even more.
Yeah, well, it's not on my list, but I'm there with you. It was much later on when I caught Dio as well, so I feel your pain. All right, well, I'm kind of in the same realm. Um, I regret that I never got to see Black Sabbath with Bill Ward, one of my absolute all-time favorite drummers. Never got to see it. I I don't remember what the just kind of like you were saying. I don't remember why I
Mm,
missed any of it. When they came around on that reunion, completely missed that. I did see Black Sabbath, on the final tour, and I did see Heaven and Hell, which was the Dio incarnation of Sabbath, just under a different name. But yeah, for whatever reasons, I never got to see Bill Ward, and that bugs me to this day, just because I play drums. I love Bill Ward.
right.
Always wanted to be able to see him in all of his glory, and I never did. So
That's a
that one,
bummer, man.
that one, that one stings. Big lip.
In the same vein, my next one is again, I've seen both these artists, but it's on April 18th of 1986, Ozzy Osbourne on the Ultimate Sin tour came to the Stable Arena in Bethlehem with Metallica
Yeah.
as the opening band. And Metallica, had Cliff at the
Right.
time,
Right.
was still in the band. And I don't know why I didn't go. I mean, I love Metallica. I liked Ozzy a lot, but again, I can't pinpoint the
Right.
whys and wherefores. I just know that I didn't go to the show. I had friends that went to the show that hadn't heard Metallica before they came back and were like, totally into it. And so it's just that one always like kind of like hurt my heart a bit to miss it because even though it was just an opening set, it was still like, and I saw them on the three times on Injustice for All, and I've seen them multiple times since.
Hmm.
But it's the fact that I never got to see them with Cliff
Yeah.
that bothers me because that's when you know, I got into Metallica with Ride the Lightning and that whole thing they had going on. I Master of Puppets, this tour, like that album was so important to all of us, like in my group of friends that were into music.
Sure.
So to miss them on that tour, like, and not to be able to see Cliff live and see, the madman that he was, his whole
Yeah.
presence on the stage, it's still like a bummer to this day. If I come back in another life and get to relive that same life again, I won't make that same mistake. I will go. I'll be there.
Where's that time machine when you need it?
I know.
Well, my next one, we were actually talking about just a little bit prior to starting on here, but I've seen Kiss countless times, but Paul Stanley went on a solo tour, not the 1989 solo tour that he did. By the way, did you see that? He played at Toad's Place. I think that was Connecticut. I mean, kind of out in New
Yeah,
York towards
it
you a little
was.
bit.
I don't even know if I knew. I think I knew about the tour, but pre-internet days, if you didn't hear about it, like
Yeah,
in some way that you could like, eh, you know, that was it. Might have well as been Timbuktu
yeah,
for him playing up in Connecticut. I didn't hear about it at the
right.
time. I knew the tour was happening, but he wasn't coming to town, and
Gotcha. Yeah.
I didn't go. I would have loved to have seen that tour, even though he played that stupid guitar that had no
With
headstock on it.
with the big body glove sticker on
Yeah,
it. Well, Paul Stanley did a solo tour in 2006 in support of his new solo album called Live to Win. And they were playing up in Milwaukee at the Rave on a Friday back in 2006. I'm looking at my unused tickets. Oh, so I think there was eight of us that were going, and we were stoked because it was Paul Stanley. He was going to be doing all kinds of stuff that you normally wouldn't get to hear. his 70s solo album is my second favorite. So we were looking forward to a lot of that. Anyway, it was like a day or 2 days prior to that show, he pulled the plug on it. And we never really got a straight answer, if, oh, he's not feeling good or whatever. But the night after the Milwaukee show, he was playing at the House of Blues in Chicago, which
Mhm.
eventually was filmed for this. So we kind of connected the dots and figured, you know what? He just pulled the plug on Milwaukee so he could rest up and, be prepared to do this. And it was really, we were pretty sour about the whole thing. And if I remember right, we went out and drowned our sorrows that night rather than seeing Paul Stanley.
Yeah.
But and I know you did see that tour, and I know a few other people that saw it, and they just spoke so highly of it, which just shoved that dagger a little further.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna
that
say
that was a big regret.
I don't want to rub the salt in. It was a really good show. I'm so glad that I first of all I can't even believe he came to Pittsburgh or Greensburg as it were.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes when Kiss did those, when they did those oddball kind of like club, like when they did the club thing for Revenge, like you don't
Right.
think that Pittsburgh is going to be one of the places, but he came to Greensburg and it was it was a really great show. Just to hear A Million to One and Magic Touch Live was really cool.
Oh man.
So
And wouldn't you
all
like
right.
to know me too? I love that song from
Yeah.
the 70s,
And
man.
Tonight
I
You
know.
Belong to Me. I mean,
That's a stacked set list. Really stacked.
and
Yeah,
he still sounded great. This is like he's on the cusp of where he was starting. He was gonna, his voice was eventually gonna start to, but he was sounded sterling that
yeah,
night, man. There was a little bit of rasp in his voice that maybe I hadn't heard before when I'd seen him live.
sure.
So he was phenomenal. The band was great.
Yeah. I know. I think we were talking too. The band, I can't remember the name of that show, but it was the backing band for one of those American Idol type shows or The Voice or whatever. But
Yeah, where they were trying to find a singer for, I know one season they were looking for a singer for INXS. And I don't remember if they were the backing band for both seasons that I
it could be.
saw or just one or the other. But yeah, he had some of the, at least, I don't know if it was the full band or just some of them, the rhythm section and the one guitar player, but it was
Yeah,
a great band.
yeah. Just from watching that video, the band was incredible, and I'm sure there was some probably after doctoring done, but Paul sounds amazing. So yeah, that was a total bummer for me. But
Yeah, I'm sorry that you missed that.
yeah, so am I. Oh well. Keep the tears falling, Butch. What's
Yeah,
next?
this next one, man, this next one, like, this one is kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm bummed that I missed it, but it's like, it's the reason that I missed it is kind of like, it's kind of like a happy thing, but Malice was on tour for License to Kill,
Oh
and
man.
they were playing the Airport Music Hall in Allentown. And like I said, especially by then, my friends and I, we all had driver's licenses, and
Sure.
um, you know, that's what we did, man. It was like we went to concerts, it was like, hey, Sabotage is playing, let's go.
Right.
Megadeth is playing, let's go. Zebra's coming, we're gonna go.
Yep.
Guns N' Roses is playing, let's go. These are all Airport Music Hall shows. King
Hmm.
Diamond and Trouble are coming. What are we doing? We're
We're
going to the
going. Yeah.
concert. It's like something to do. It was like, we were either at the mall, the movies, or concerts. And so that during that day, my buddies said, we're gonna go to the mall, hang out, we're gonna hit some record stores and chill. And I'm like, cool, all right, cool. And I was like, are we going to see Malice tonight? And they're like, I don't know if we want to go. Like they were like hedging on it. And I was
Really?
like, oh, it was weird, man. I'm just like, what do you mean? Like it's why would we not go to the show? And so we're going to record stores. And then I got pissed off because I went to one store and I bought Rex Smith, who was like became like a teen idol and then a Broadway Pirates of Penzance kind of
Yeah.
guy. He did his first band was a hard rock band just called Rex. And I had this compilation called Strictly for Connoisseurs that had a track by Rex on it called Trouble, which is a great song. And I bought the record. I went to this store. It's not even open in Allentown anymore. This is years ago. There's a store called, I think it was Bygone Records, something like that. Anyway, I paid like $16 for the record for a used copy of it. And we went to the Whitehall Mall afterwards, and I swear to God, they had it in a used bin. It was a remainder, not a used bin, sorry, it was a remainder like clearance
Hmm.
bin for $3.99 sealed. And I was like, God damn it. Like I was just like, and I was getting salty with them because I would like I wanted to go to the show and I wasn't at that point in my life, I'm like, I'm not going by myself. Like,
Hmm.
I was just like that. It wasn't until a few years later I started saying, you know what, I'm not gonna miss
Yeah.
concerts because friends aren't gonna go. So I was mad about that. And then I was like, that kind of poured salt in the wound that the record, like I could have gotten a brand new copy for, $12 less than I paid. And so I'm like, all right, well, we're not going to see Malice tonight, and whatever. I was being like kind of a dick to my friends too.
You
I
were
was
like, the
like
hell
being
with this thing.
really grumpy, and so they drive to drop me off at home, and we as soon as we walk in the door, first of all, the show is on was supposed to be the 7th of February,
Hmm.
1987. My birthday was the 4th
Oh,
of February. I was turning 16. I didn't have my license yet. That's why I was really pissed because they were my ride.
and they didn't want to
Um,
go.
they had their license and they didn't want to go. And I'm like, I guess we walk in the door, instantly felt like a dick because my house is full of my friends. My mother had arranged a
Oh,
surprise party for me
oh.
for my 16th birthday. There was a DJ set up in my living room upstairs. We had a split level and he'd
Sure.
like ran speakers down to the downstairs. So there's a
Oh,
DJ
wow.
from the school that we went with, and about 20, 25 of my friends are there, and so Chip and Todd and Terry, the guys I was hanging out with, their job was to get me out of the house during the
All
day.
makes sense now.
So I was like, so it was the trade off. I mean, it was like a really nice thing, for my mom to do for me, have the
Yeah.
surprise party, but and my friends got me out, but I was like such a grouch to them. They were like, they,
You're
and then
kind
I
of a
felt so
dick,
bad,
Butch.
but and I'm still bummed that I missed the show, but like I said, it's hard to be that
Yeah.
upset about it when it was for that. It's
No,
just
absolutely.
bad timing, but it was the only
Yeah.
chance I ever would have had to see them. They broke up,
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that record. So, and now I'll never see them because Mick Zane is dead,
Yep.
and James Neal doesn't sing any more than I'm aware of. He was doing
Right.
blues at one time, I think, and I don't know what James Reynolds is doing now, but those dudes are like they haven't done it. They did that thing with James Rivera singing, but it's not the
Yeah.
same. And with Mick
No.
Zane gone, we won't see them again.
That's
So
actually
anyway,
like that's amazing to me that you actually even had the opportunity to see Malice because
so weird.
aside from, some friends I know that live out in California, I had no idea they even got this far over to the east side.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those some oddball kind of tours. Like when I think about it, that I'm surprised that played in Allentown, like of all places.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like, oh, Malice came to Pitt. I came out to Pittsburgh in '89 to go to school.
Hmm.
Um, it's Allentown, so it's like a lot of bands played there, but because it was a good, it's between New York and Philly, and it was a way for promoters. Like
Yeah.
it's a decent sized room. This place they could put bands like like a band like Megadeth when they were starting to get big, or
Right.
Guns N'
Right.
Roses when they were on the cusp, like when they were doing little tours or like a longer tour. Guns N' Roses, they did that when they did the show at the Ritz. This was in that string,
Hmm.
that week of dates that they did. But so yeah, but it was weird. Like bands like Malice was one of them. Uh, Obsession
Hmm.
came. I mean,
Wow.
and man, those dudes played to like 70 people. I
Really.
mean, it was rough, and it didn't help that my buddies and I were yelling for "Shadows of Steel" between every song. But that's a story for a different day. But yeah, it's I can't believe I had a chance to see them and miss them, but
Wow.
stuff happens.
No, my best friend Jeff and we loved in the beginning. We played that tape
Oh,
like
I think that's still their
nonstop.
best one.
It is Air Attack. It's still one of the best songs ever. And we would have died to have been able to see Malice, but we just chalked it up to they'll never come out here. So no,
Yeah,
that's That's a crazy story. Never knew that they even made it this far over. So wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Lots of thunder, blue mist
Actually,
rising all about me.
I play Christine for my wife.
Yeah.
Christine. Okay, this next one, I had tickets twice to see him. If I have everything correct, the first time he had to cancel, and then the second time something came up for me and I couldn't go either. But now, we do this channel because we feel that, the realm of heaviness envelops a lot of different levels of heaviness.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, I love Mahogany Rush, and I had the chance to see Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush twice, and both times the bottom fell out on me.
Damn.
And now it looks like that's that. I don't think I'm ever gonna get the chance to see him again. So Mahogany Rush, that would have been a huge one for me. I love Frank's playing. Just just magical, so much heart and emotion into it. Those first three Mahogany Rush albums, I discovered, later on as your music tastes kind of start to fan away from just your main circle of
Hmm.
thrash, death, doom, and everything. And I really latched on to Mahogany Rush, and those first three. Max Zoom is probably my favorite. So yeah, when he came to Milwaukee, he played at Shank. It was supposed to be at Shank Hall both times. And if you've seen Spinal Tap, that's what it's named after, Shank Hall. So yeah, I never got to see them, and that brings a tear to my eye.
That's a bummer. On the positive side, if you ever want to at least just listen to it, Mike Lindenauer has about 4,000
Yeah,
Frank Marino
yeah, yeah.
bootlegs, I think, being the.
Lindenhauer, if you're listening or watching this, I know you're on Dime a Dozen. I'm pretty sure you've got every single show loaded up and ready to go on there.
Yeah, Frank's one that I wish I would have gotten a chance to see. I don't know, since I've been out in Pittsburgh, I don't know when he's been here, but what a ripping guitar player,
Oh, it's
like
phenomenal.
yeah, I did get to see Trower, but I never got to see Frank Marino, so I feel you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, in the same vein too. I love Uli Roth, and I never got to see Uli. And he's been around here several times, and maybe not so much Milwaukee, but down Chicago. And I missed out seeing Uli too. But
You still may get a chance. I think he's still playing. Like I saw him here in Pittsburgh, and I know he was just in Cleveland within the last couple of years. So I
yeah, the
mean,
last time he was going to be in the States, he had a visa issue, and he had dates set up, and he was going to be down at Reggie's. And I was thinking, okay, here's my chance. I'm going to go see that. And then he had some kind of visa issue. This is a couple of years ago,
hmm,
and so that never panned out either. But yeah, I love Mahogany Rush. I wish I had a chance to see him.
yeah. Um, Again, from the column of why I miss this, I don't know, but in '87, the date of the show was September 20th of '87. Now this was the show was at the Allentown Fairgrounds, so the Allentown Fairgrounds was the Allentown Fairgrounds and and Bethlehem Stabler Arena were the two like places where the big bands played.
Mm,
Stabler I think held about 6,000 people. It was the basketball arena at Lehigh College, Lehigh University, and the Allentown Fairgrounds was part of the Allentown Fair. Would have bands play during the fair itself, so they had a big bandstand. The shell
sure.
is set up with a grandstand, but they also at the time they still have bands play there during the fair itself, but no one usually plays there during the outside of the fair. But
Sure.
it used to be that bands did play. Like I saw the first show I ever saw, the Scorpions with Bon Jovi opening there. I saw Motley Crue with Loudness there. I
Hmm.
saw Kiss there in 1990. I saw Rat there. Um, I saw Iron Maiden with Accept in '85. I saw there. So we would get shows, during the summer, you'd get them at the fairgrounds.
Right.
During the year, when they had to be indoors, you'd get them at the Stabler Arena.
Right.
And the Airport Music Hall was like the club level. It was like it was like a bingo hall, like convention center size place. You could get like I've seen bands play there to as few as under 100 people to like where the place is like jammed with like I guess up to 1,000, something
Okay.
like that.
Good
Someone that
size
lives in
room.
Allentown, maybe if you're watching, let us know. Anyway, for whatever reason, the show was at the Allentown Fairgrounds, which held like I think 16,000 was the capacity because it was
Okay.
general admission. The grandstand was like just the
Bench seating.
bench
Yeah.
seats. There was no reserve seating. The floor was just standing room only. Um, and there was a tour called the Hell on Wheels tour, and it was at the time it was Grim Reaper had Rock You to Hell,
Yep.
Armored Saint had Raising Fear, and Halloween had out the Keeper, the first Keeper record.
Sure.
The three were touring together. I mean, MTV had the concert, 20 minutes of each band.
Right.
Um, and from what I understand, that the tour, I know the tour played there, but supposedly there was less than 600 people
Oh man.
at the fairgrounds. Now, it's one thing if you're playing 1,000 seater and 600 show up. It's
But the
another thing when you're
16.
playing a place that holds like 16. Like, I can't imagine like what it felt like for the bands to like, you get there. I know when I have got to a place with a band and we're gonna play and the place looks really cool and it's big and the stage is big, you get excited
Yeah. Oh yeah.
about it. And then if the place doesn't fill up, it sucks. It's a bummer
Yeah.
playing to, it's still 600 people coming to see you, but the perspective of it is
Totally
off when
different.
you're
Yeah.
if you're opening for someone and you're playing in arenas. When you play a big place, you're hoping for a big crowd. And there was a bit of a buzz about all three bands at the time and the tour. MTV was behind the tour, but none of them were gold
Yeah.
selling bands, and so I totally missed it. I just missed the show, and I never did get to see Grim Reaper. I saw a version of Grim Reaper. Steve Grimmett was down at the Ragnarocker Festival
Hmm.
in 2014, I think
Yep.
it was. We
Yep.
played that year. I actually got to meet Steve Grimmett outside. I was outside having a cigarette, and he was standing outside, so it was cool.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. But I never got to see Grim Reaper like back in the
In the
'80s during
era
that
of yeah.
in that era. And I've never seen Halloween. I would love to have seen, especially now. Like I appreciate Halloween a lot more now than I did then. I like
Yeah.
them, but I wasn't like a huge fan of Kiski's voice at the time. But he's grown on me over the years, and I still, really, one of my buddies played the shit out of Keeper of the Seven Keys. We used to listen to it in his car all the time, and I just think it would have been a great tour. I've seen Armored Saint like 3 or 4 times now.
Sure.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
To see all those bands at their peak would have been cool. Armored Saint still had they still came out
And the armor.
in the armors, and Dave Pritchard
Yep.
was still alive at the
Yep.
time. So I never got to see them with Pritchard playing in the band. I just think it would have been. I saw the show on what I saw on MTV. I just think it would have been
Yeah.
cool to see each band do their whatever their full set was, 45
Right.
minutes or whatever. So it's a bummer to have missed it. It was like, Allentown's 20 minutes from where I grew up, so this is like right in my
It's your backyard.
backyard,
Yeah.
so to speak. And I don't know why I passed on it at the time, but in retrospect, I wish I hadn't.
Yeah. That would have been a great one. I remember that tour. I don't believe it came in. If it did come around my area, I just don't remember it. Never saw it. Um,
Man, I want
I
to say they recorded this stuff for MTV, like up in Wisconsin. I don't don't what's the word? Don't just take my word for it or
It's
whatever.
possible.
But
They recorded a lot of stuff that ended up on like video or even stuff on MTV. They recorded up in La Crosse, Wisconsin, at the sports center up there. Um, Queensryche Operation Mindcrime. That video was actually done in
oh,
Wisconsin too.
nice.
So that's possible. Maybe that was recorded there. I was. It's funny you bring that up because I was really big on Halloween. Walls of Jericho. I love that album to this day. But Keeper, those they were a little different. They kind of changed a little bit in there, where
It was a
they're
little less speed metal. I mean, that like
yeah,
Walls of Jericho, there was more of a, it's just the way like even that Ride the Sky starts. There's a real like that ripping
yeah,
like there was it was a cleaner and more power metal, whereas with the Walls of Jericho, that was more of like a cross between speed and power metal. And
right, right,
Kai Hansen's voice a little bit different than Kiski's, still high, but there was like a heaviness about that record that maybe like they were still heavy, but it kind of like
yep,
dropped off a little bit.
sure, sure. Yeah, that's a bummer. That would have been a really awesome one to be at.
Yeah, it would have been fun to see that show.
All right, my number two, and I don't really have any specific dates. I mean, I was still fairly young. I hadn't really come to the full understanding of the genius of Richie Blackmore. But I had some opportunities through the years to see Deep Purple for whatever reasons. Never ended up going. I think one time we had planned to go. We hadn't had tickets yet, and then somebody got sick or things fell apart or the
Hmm.
ride. I don't know what it was, but this was after the fact. But I remember when Perfect Strangers came out, and I didn't have my license or anything. I was still on the young side, but I remember thinking I want to see that because they were playing like three or four cuts off that album on the radio at any given time.
Yeah.
So, there was such a big hoopla around that album. Blackmore's back. It's the classic lineup, and we ate that up. I love that album. So, I always said, okay, if I don't see Purple now, that's one band I'm going to see. Never did. Still regret it. And I know that this latest album has been getting some really positive reviews, and I've seen a lot of people have gone and seen this touring cycle
Hmm.
and saying, Ian still sounds good. They've taken the smart route and they've tuned a little bit differently to accommodate. Everybody's getting old, but they said they still
Yeah.
sound fantastic. So, um, yeah, I don't know if depending on how things pan out with Deep Purple in the next few years, if they continue to go, that's still one that's kind of on my bucket list that I need to see, but I would definitely regret to this point not seeing Deep Purple.
Yeah, I only got to see them once. I saw them I forget what album they were touring for, but it was that show. Dio was on Killing the Dragon and the Scorpions were touring. It was Dio, the Scorpions, and Deep Purple. But
Was that
this was this.
House of Blue Light? Maybe was that song?
No, this is like this is in the 2000s.
Oh, okay, okay.
This was like Steve Morse era.
Oh, okay, okay.
Um, so I got to see them, but I've never gotten to see Blackmore. He's come around a couple times with
Blackmore's
Blackmore's
Night.
Night, but that's not. I mean, if they come around again, it's something I might go see. But I never did get to see Purple with him or with Ian, like being able to, where you could still like wail. It's funny. I worked my first job. I worked at a box company. Weird job in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. My mom made me go to work one summer. I was like 14 or
Hmm.
15. And my buddies and I all got jobs there, which irritated all the people that worked there because you're talking like, these are people, this is their full time job, man. They're
Sure.
working in a box company. Everyone's doing the
Right.
same thing for 8 hours a day. Everyone's got their stations, but they had us like doing like little jobs at different stations. Like I would like one day I would break down boxes for 8 hours and I was doing shit like karate kicking them or putting my head through them. It's been we put up a cup. We put up a cup one time on the bulletin board with a sign saying, please give to the Starving Musicians Fund. And people were putting like cigarette butts and tampons in it. And it's so this guy, I remember this guy we worked with there. He's like, yeah, we talked to some of the people who talked to us and we talk about music. And the dude's like, said he saw Deep Purple on the Perfect Strangers tour. And he's like, dude, that show was like 4.5 hours long.
Oh my
John
God.
Lord played a 45-minute keyboard solo, and Ian Pace played for a half an hour. Now I know those dudes like stretched at the time, though. I believe like
Of
I'm
course.
like, I know they all stretched out, but you learn in time. This dude is just like
Yeah.
either wasn't really there or just was so whacked
Yeah.
out of his. But I'll never forget him talking about that show about the 4.5 hours and the 45-minute keyboard solo. And so I think it would have been fun. You know, I don't remember them coming through. The only time that I remember them coming through with Blackmore here was on the Slaves and Masters tour, and that was with Jolyn
Okay.
Turner
Yeah.
instead of Ian Gillan singing. So it's like I couldn't, you couldn't, I can't win for losing.
No, I know what you mean.
So
It's funny you brought that up about them playing 4.5 hours. When I was like a kid, I literally thought that like when you went to this is before I ever went to a concert. I thought you went to a concert and it was like they played for like 10 hours. I thought Kiss literally played like all night. Like if you go see Kiss, man, you better sleep all day because they play for like 10 hours straight. You know, so that just reminded me of that for some reason.
That's hilarious.
Oh man. All right.
Um,
Who else you got?
all right, my last one. I have a couple of honorables at the end. I'm kind of like this is kind of
Yeah.
like a game time thing for me, but I'll bring them up because um, this is a case of a band that I did never got to see. I had chances, but I never went to see them. And partly it's because I just, man, I love their 70s stuff, but I can't stomach much of the stuff from the 80s on up, and that's Aerosmith.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
and my qualifier for Aerosmith when they always came was like, who's opening for them? Because if it makes it a bill like where I'm like really interested in it, I'll go. But they never came with someone that really moved the needle much for me here, like in Pittsburgh. I missed them in Bethlehem a couple times. One, I think, was at the very beginning of my concert going days when I was still depending on my mother to actually allow me to go. Like she had when I was like 12, 13, she always wanted me to go with like someone older. So like she had a friend who had a daughter that was like 21
Mm-hmm.
that um my mom would buy her tickets and she
Right.
would take me to the show. So there was someone like an adult
Yeah.
with me. So for whatever reason, I missed Aerosmith and Ted Nugent. That was the tour for Done with Mirrors, which would have been cool to see because I do like that record.
I do too.
They came through on Permanent Vacation with Dokken opening, which surprised. I love Dokken,
Oh,
and I love the Under Lock and Key album. So I don't know exactly why I would have missed that show, but I did. And then like they'd come with like bands like they'd come out to Pittsburgh and it'd be like Jackal or
I saw that tour. I don't know if that was Permanent Vacation or Pump maybe, but I
I
saw
think
that tour
Pump,
with
like
Jackal.
or Get a Grip maybe
Get a
was
grip
later. That
maybe?
was more around the time of Jackal. Like I don't know, man. Like I just there were bands that just didn't. It just I didn't like the bill enough to want to go because I didn't want to listen to Angel or
Yeah.
all those Ragdoll or all the ballads that they did or I just didn't really care for like the 80s on up. Like there's songs here and there that are good. Like Young Lust is a cool song.
Mm-hmm.
FINE is cool. Um, but I don't know. But I finally like they announced the farewell tour. The Black Crows are opening. I like the Black Crows a lot. I'm like I bought tickets to see them. Now I missed in Pittsburgh. I already had tickets here to see something else that night, the night they were playing here.
Okay.
So I bought tickets to see them in Columbus. Now the Pittsburgh show was like the second or third show on the tour, and by all accounts from friends that I know that went to the show, they were great. They said Steven was great, and then Steven broke his voice.
Yeah.
So the show in Columbus that was supposed to happen in January, that following January, this was like the September show here in Pittsburgh, and then in January we were supposed to drive out to Columbus. We were going to spend make a long weekend out of it. Then the show got postponed, um, and then it finally got
Yeah.
canceled. And by that point, actually, I'd actually sold the tickets when it was postponed. After a certain amount of time, you could sell your tickets back, and they'll give you a refund because no new date had been announced yet. So it's a bummer that I didn't get to see them on the last tour. I think it would have been cool to see them. I've never heard anything but that they're great,
Mm-hmm.
that they've been great, while they've been clean and stuff. You hear stories about the show being like hit or miss in
Yeah.
some of those in between years, but everyone always said how good they were. I heard the Pittsburgh show was really great. I would have liked to have seen them because they're one of the few legacy bands of the bigger bands that I never did get to see that toured a lot. I passed on seeing them with Kiss.
Yeah.
Here I just didn't. I don't for whatever reason. Just Aerosmith never like. Aerosmith is one of those bands. If I would have known they were doing like a tour where they're like we're playing rocks all the way through,
Yeah.
I would have been like
Not gonna miss it.
I'm
Yeah.
there. If I'd have known 3/4 of the set was going to be 70s stuff, it would have been a big draw for me.
Sure.
But it's like why I would never go see Van Halen with Sammy Hagar because I just didn't like that material, and that's
Right.
that much. Like I like it better now, but they never played a lot of the old stuff when Sammy's singing. So Aerosmith had a lot of hits um, in that Permanent Vacation on Up era, and I don't know, but it bums me out now that I didn't just go. I think I would have had fun. I think I probably would have liked them live. I don't like Def Leppard's Hysteria on Up stuff, but I saw them
Yeah.
live a few years ago, with my wife and my brother-in-law, and I thought they were fun live, even though I don't really, live or some
Yeah.
sugar on me was a lot more fun than if hearing it on the radio for. So I think
The
the same
umpteenth
would have
time.
happened with Aerosmith, and it's just like I wish I would have gone now, and now I won't
Yeah.
get the chance because unfortunately it's a terrible way for any musician to have to go out to
Yeah.
just damage your voice so badly that I feel really bad for Steven Tyler. As a singer, like it's a scary thing.
Yeah. You
Um,
can relate.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how hard he was singing that broke his larynx, but that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
it's a
know that
shame.
you're giving it if to get an injury like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Aerosmith with Jacko. Like I said, I can't remember what tour that was for, what album. Like you, I love everything up to and including Done with Mirrors. The rest of it, I pretty much ignore. I just don't care for it. Um, did see that tour. They were good. I kind of made my way through the newer stuff. I did see the Kiss Aerosmith tour, but they had just released that blues album, that Honkin' on Bobo, I think it was
Yeah.
called. And they relied a little too heavily on some of that. And oh my God, it was like watching paint dry, which was sad because they came out to Toys in the Attic, and I was like, well, here we go. This is going to be good. And it
Hmm.
just wasn't. So, it is what it is. I did get to see Aerosmith. Was it their best shows? Probably not. But yeah. So yeah, I know what you mean. Not getting to see a legacy band like that. So
Yeah.
all right. So my last one, it's one of my favorite bands. I love these guys. Just the planets never quite lined up for me to be able to see them, but Celtic Frost. They've only been in my area a couple of times, and I was looking back on like the set lists, the website, just to make sure I had it all right. I mean, the first time they were here, I was just too young. Nobody was going to drive me up there. Um, and if I remember right, the next time they were there was in '87. Now I cannot remember who was on that tour with them. It was for Into the Pandemonium, but I think we had a bad snowstorm,
Hmm.
and I think that got canceled because Jack Koshik was the one that was putting a lot of that stuff on. He had just done Metal Fest and all kinds of shows. So the next chance I had was in April of '89, which was the Cold Lake tour.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I was the girl that I was with. My car was in the shop. We relied on her. We were gonna go. Didn't work out. So that was that. And they did come back in 2007. Um, just never made it up there, for that reunion. Triptychon didn't ever really click with me very much, so didn't do anything with that either. So I'm just nothing ever lined up for me with Celtic Frost, and I've always wanted to see those guys. So I wish I could have seen them in the classic era. That would have been tremendous. But
Yeah. I feel your pain on that one. I did get to see Triptychon, which was cool, except they like tuned down the some of the songs were tuned down and played slower. Like when they did Procreation of the Wicked, it was almost unrecognizable at
oh no
times.
kidding.
Like it was good and all, but Celtic Frost played here at the Rex Theater in Pittsburgh. I want to say it was around the time, I think it was right around the due date of when my ex-wife was due to
Uh,
deliver my son. And it was one of those things where it's like, I didn't necessarily, we talked about it. I didn't want to like be trapped at the show if
if something
something
happened,
happened. So even though Pittsburgh isn't that far, but it was like one of those things where I didn't want to tempt fate with it, so I didn't go. And then
Yeah.
of course, and now we'll, with Martin passing,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I think it would have been cool to see. That stuff is so heavy. It's cool now that he's been doing those shows where he plays, some of that old Frost stuff and
Sure.
plays the Hellhammer stuff.
Yeah.
I bought that live album, that live thing with the orchestra
Oh
that they
yeah.
did.
Is it
That was
pretty? Is that
cool.
good? Yeah.
Yeah, and then but then to see if you watch the video from like that show they did down in Texas at the Hell's Heroes Fest, is just freaking massively
Yeah.
heavy and cool sounding. But yeah, it's a bummer to miss. That would have been a cool tour to see too, because the that album is just so brutally heavy, monotheist.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It
but
was
yeah,
just
like you said, to see him with Reed St. Mark and Martin Ericaine would have been
yeah. It was a
awesome with the
series of
armor and
unfortunate events that just that never worked out, you know. And there's plenty more bands that's happened to me too, but you know, I love Celtic Frost, so that's a stickler for me too.
let me ask you about that one though. Like, do you feel like you're kind of lucky, like you kind of dodged a bullet in a way that you didn't go see him on Cold
Cold
Lake?
Lake.
Have you seen that video they put out from the Hammersmith from
Oh
that
yeah,
tour?
yeah,
It,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like there's a couple old songs, but they played a lot from Cold Lake, and they just the it didn't have the same, with that look that they had at the time. Like they didn't have the same vibe, I
No,
thought. So it's kind of like, yeah, it would have been cool to see it, but I wonder if you would have been like, it would have left like a bad memory.
it probably would have. It's probably divine intervention that it didn't work out because yeah, that would have scarred me. But yeah, I have watched that Hammersmith video, and yeah, I mean, there's a reason they played most of Cold Lake because you know the image they were portraying at that time just didn't quite work out with everything they had done prior.
Yeah, dude, poofy hair and into Crips Rays don't quite mix. You know,
No,
it was something.
more cherry orchards, please.
Yeah. Do you
So
have any honorable mentions for bands you were thinking about? Like,
yeah, you know,
quick.
probably the biggest honorable mention I have is AC/DC. I've never had a chance to see AC/DC. Um, I've always liked AC/DC. I was never as manic about them as I am about Kiss and
Mm-hmm.
Priest and King Diamond and stuff like that. But again, you know, I know we like to use the term legacy band. They are obviously a legacy band. I do wish that I had the chance. Now I know that they're coming around again. Soldier Field tickets just went on sale and they're astronomical. So I probably still won't get to see ACDC,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's a big one. I would have liked to have experienced that.
Yeah,
What
that's actually my honorable too.
is it? Yeah.
And it's the same reasons. I mean, tickets went on sale for Pittsburgh, and you know, I'm not. I don't know. I'm gonna wait to see closer to the show. I might go. I like ACDC a lot. I love a lot of ACDC actually,
Hmm.
but you know, over the years, like I've appreciated them more as I got older. So the problem
Right.
was at the times when I had more chances to see them, I just didn't appreciate them as much.
Sure.
And now that I appreciate them more, now Malcolm's gone,
Yep.
Cliff's not with them, Phil's not playing with them.
Right.
It's kind of like,
It seems
is
like
Malcolm?
Brian's questionable day to day too. I keep hearing, "Oh, Axel's going to do it," and then, okay, no, Brian's good. He's going to do
See, that'd be a total. I mean, I think Axel did an admirable job when he filled in, but for me, if it's not Brian and Angus, I'm not even gonna think about going. Like it, if it would have been like if Malcolm was still alive, if it was that lineup, the
it. Right.
Back in Black lineup, I'd go.
Yeah.
I'd spend up to 100 or whatever. I'd
Sure.
sit in the nosebleeds. Which I mean, tickets up at Acrisure Stadium, like the fact that they're playing stadiums is wild to me.
Yeah.
But tickets up at the nosebleeds in Acrisure are $91. So, the floor, like halfway back of the floor, is like $500, man.
It's crazy.
I'm like, I'm not doing that. I don't care. Like, if you gave me a time machine and took me back to the Flick of the Switch tour or Highway to Hell
Right.
or any of those old tours, like maybe I'd cough up $500-$600, but I'm not doing it for.
No.
Maybe I'll sit up high, like if it was the right. That's why I'm gonna wait. If I can
Yeah.
find tickets on the cheap or something, I'll go because I hate like the idea of this could be the last one, and I hate the
Yeah.
idea of leaving like bands that I like on the. But sometimes it's better just not to see them at all than see them when they're out there.
Yeah.
I just watched the video though, the
That power
playing
trip
live,
fest.
and they started with "If You Want Blood," and I thought Brian sounded reasonable on it. So I don't know, we'll
Yeah.
see. Game time, but they were the that's the like the other big legacy band. Like them and Aerosmith are the two that um I think when I think about it, I'm like shocked I didn't see them at some point.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too. I for some reason I kind of remember what year did Fly on the Wall come out? Was that 85?
Like '85, they came to Stabler Arena on that tour, and
No
I didn't
kidding.
go.
Yeah, they were at the old Mecca Arena on that tour. And I have an aunt that was a massive AC/DC fan. And for some reason I kind of remember a conversation about possibly going to that, but that obviously never came to fruition. But yeah, I missed any other opportunity to see them. And I know they played. We have Alpine Valley out here, and I know they played there before too. And that's a half-hour drive, great outdoor venue. But yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. So yeah, there's plenty more. I could go on and on forever about some of the bands I didn't see or didn't see. Like the Pinnacle tour of or things like that. So, but
The worst of the worst, I think when I think about are the bands that like I'll never get to see, like Entombed, like was here um in '91 and twice in '94, but I didn't, man, death metal was a hard sell for me for years. It
yeah.
grew on me I still don't like love it, but
Hmm.
Entombed I do love. And but with Lars Gore and Petrov dead and the band's
Yep.
broken up, I don't know if I'd ever get the chance to see them. I don't know what the status of that. Certainly I can't imagine them coming to Pittsburgh in any form to play like if they did like a special show. Like I think they did one as Entombed where they played clandestine all the way through, and
Yeah.
that was ran in parallel to when Lars had Entombed AD going.
Right.
But I always loved his voice. Like I usually don't like guys that sing like that, but I love his voice is so like
Yeah.
just like, man, you hear it and you're just like he means that shit. Like
Oh
it comes
yeah.
across that way. Like, you listen to like this with the devil, and I'm just like, man, I just you're or listen to Hollow Man or
Sure.
you know, um the stuff on Left Hand Path. I just wish I would have got a chance to see them, or same with you know, I'll never get to I missed Typo Negative on their last tour, and I've seen them like 5 or 6 times, but it's a bummer that I never got the chance again. And
Yeah.
Jeff Beck, I skipped on him every time he came to Pittsburgh, and I always thought, oh, you know,
I'll catch
I'll
him
see
on
him
the
the
next
next.
time.
I'll catch him the next time. I can't go this time, but and then he died.
I know that's
And
bit
it's
me in
not
the
funny,
ass
but
more times than I care to admit. Like, oh, I'll get it on the next time, and then they either break up or somebody passes or they just
yeah,
don't
Tom
ever come
Petty. I
anywhere
mean, guys
near.
that are not heavy,
Yeah.
like I just didn't go, and then ELO, I didn't get a chance to see them. I missed them, and now they did their farewell tour. They came through. I had tickets to see Glenn Hughes, and I'm like,
Oh,
I'm not missing Glenn. Like I
I
already got
know.
the tickets, and it's like, oh,
Yep. I know. I know ELO was at the God, I think they were at the United Center. And that's another one, I didn't get a chance to go down there. I mean, speaking of death metal, Dismember is one of my absolute favorite, and they were just in Chicago recently. But it's like the older I get and the more responsibilities you have, it's like it's not that easy to like, hey, let's go, man, pick you up in an hour. That just doesn't happen anymore.
right.
So, there's, life happens, and I know that's why I've missed a lot of stuff. But
Well, and it's tough. It's tougher for bands to tour now. These bands from
yeah,
Europe, like it's not as easy for them to just come over here and play. It's way more expensive for them to do it. So it's like it's kind of
yeah,
like you really have to be willing to, you know, spend the money and plan and sacrifice stuff sometimes to see a
sure,
band because you might not get a chance to see them. Like some bands come over and just play festivals and leave. Like it killed me
yeah,
to not go to Hell's Heroes last year because I really wanted to see Witch Hazel. It's killing me
sure,
not to go this year because I really want to see the Night Eternal and Primordial. But
yeah,
I've seen Primordial before, so it hurts a little less. But
yeah,
there's, I can't. Some things you can't make work because when you're an adult and you're older, like you said, there's bills to pay, and
yeah,
it's tough to it's tough to figure stuff out when you're getting into like it's going to cost you know up to $1,000 just to for a week, for 4 days at a show.
Yeah, that's the truth too. Like you were saying too about, it's hard for these bands from Europe to come over. A lot of them will, but they literally will come over and do like 5 dates. They'll hit like the five major cities, and
Yeah, New York
they're
City.
yeah, Dallas or LA, maybe Chicago. But like, my son and I really like Powerwolf, and they came back and they did. It was only like 12 or 13 shows, and they were at the Riviera, which is about 45-minute drive for us. So we were like, we are going. It was the very first day of school too. It was a Monday night. But we were like, we're going because, again, like you said, who knows if they'll ever come back? We got a chance to see a really awesome European band. So
Yeah. I mean, I definitely subscribe to the idea of within, there's some guardrails on this, but the that whole thing about life is short, buy the damn tickets.
yeah, yeah,
If there's a show, if there's a band you want to see and you think you can make it work, that this I say this to everyone out there, like, Mike and I are joking around about crying and missing shows, but seriously,
it's the
like,
truth.
you know, if you want to see someone, like, don't let things, like, in my opinion, like, I would not let things like having to be up early, for work, like, be tired, for
Yeah,
the day. That's my philosophy, is like, spend the, you know, don't buy coffee every day or something for a couple months so you can
yeah,
buy the tickets for a show, because these artists, or a lot of these artists we like, are getting older now.
that's the
The
truth.
chances to see them are going to be less. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you can spend money on and buy. There's stuff you can acquire, but the
Right.
experience of
Sure.
seeing like a live band, I'd say do it, man. If there's any chance you can, like, like you said, a Monday to see Powerwolf in a 45-minute drive, whatever. I've
Yeah.
driven to Cleveland before because I'm like, it's only, 2.5 hours, but it's like,
Yeah.
man, I got,
You know
I've
what?
driven to, Youngstown's not, is like a hour 15 or whatever. To me, that's like, all right, that's close enough. Like, if I
Right.
want to go see Bloodstar and Screamer from Sweden, I don't know when Screamer's coming over here again.
There you go. There you go. Perfect example. Yeah. If a band or an album, touches you to the core like that, and makes that emotional connection, and you're even contemplating going to see them if they're around. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Butch. Just do it. Just go. Make that small sacrifice and suck it up at work the next day or whatever you got to do. That
Yeah, I
is
mean,
true. That is true.
I can think of very few times where I said to myself, man, I'm really, I, I can't believe I bought those tickets. Like, I really regret that. I really regret going to see Tom Jones tonight. Like, I really regret, seeing Glenn Hughes. I really regret seeing Kiss or whoever
Right,
that I'm seeing.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
usually it's like, I really regret I didn't get to see Malice because my buddies planned a surprise party and they didn't take me in.
Because your mom loves you and had a
Yeah.
party, man.
My does my mom have to love me so much?
Darn it, mom. Well,
Well,
okay. We're ending on a good note. There's no tears. We're laughing. So this is a good thing. I will cry after we tap out here.
yeah. Let's hear all your sob stories, though. Let's hear about your tears. Let them flow. Let them flow into the comments. Let us know what shows you missed. Let us know what band lineup tours you've missed that you wish you could have seen. If you like what you see, please like and comment. Get involved in the conversation. Subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Hit that
Subscribe.
like button.
Share.
Thank you for tuning into For the Sake of Heaviness. I'm Butch Ballich.
I'm Merciful Mike. Until the next time, stay
Keep it
heavy.
heavy, man.